Football Insider sources have said a blockbuster Tottenham summer sale is, quote, inevitable after £150 million Levy reveal. We'll be considering which players could be involved in this huge turn of events sale. But first of all, if you are new to the channel and you do want more Tottenham Hotspur transfer talk, plus live watch-alongs, previews, reviews, and any Spurs content you could want, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit the like button if you do go on to enjoy this stream. And look, let's dive straight into this article. It's come from, as I said, Football Insider, who are not the most reliable source out there. There's definitely much more reliable transfer sources out there. They have been right a bit with Spurs in the past, but for the most part, they are wrong. But I do want to talk about this because it makes sense. And that is my biggest concern with this one. It genuinely does make sense. And look, we don't want this to happen. Of course, no Spurs fan wants this to happen. You can argue whether or not Daniel Levy wants this to happen. But as Kevin Murray says, maybe they've got no choice with all of this debt. Now, Spurs have been in this position before where we have sold our biggest players often to Premier League rivals, to other clubs as well. You know, looking back at Dimitar Berbatov, of course, going to Manchester United. Kyle Walker went to City in a huge deal, and then the likes of Gareth Bale and Luka Modric gone off to Real Madrid. But Spurs could potentially be in a situation here where they do not have a choice in this one. And I know a lot of fans are going to be disappointed with that. Look, I'm absolutely gutted if this does turn out to be true. There's no denying that whatsoever. But let's take a quick run through this article by Football Insider. It was posted a little earlier this morning at about 9:30. They say a blockbuster Tottenham player sale is, quote, inevitable this summer, even if the team secure a place in next season's Champions League, Football Insider has been told. So our performance this season could potentially have no bearing on this whatsoever. Chairman Daniel Levy predicted when the last annual report was published in November that Spurs will lose an irrecoverable £150 million this season if the stadium remains shut to fans. Of course, we know the Premier League stadiums will be closed for the remainder of the season. We had one, possibly two home games where we were allowed 1,000 fans in the stadium, but that won't be happening again this season. It is closed for the foreseeable future. A Tottenham source has told Football Insider the fans should be prepared for at least one big money sale in the next window, irrespective of whether the club finish in the top four and secure a place in the lucrative Champions League. If you're watching on the live stream replay, make sure to put your thoughts on this down in the comments below. If you're watching live, get into that live chat and let me know what you think about this. Supporters will be praying it will not be either of the club's two prize assets and star players Harry Kane and Son Heung-min. Other big name exits such as Dele Alli and Hugo Lloris will be less controversial, but also generate significantly less money. Like many elite clubs who have posted horrific losses, Tottenham are suffering badly. With lockdown restrictions firmly in place, the bleak prospect of no fans for the rest of the campaign is looking increasingly likely. This comes after Spurs already announced a whopping £63.9 million loss in their most recent set of financial results. This was Tottenham's first loss since 2012, and profits have surged in the subsequent period. Broadcasting, commercial and matchday revenues have rocketed at the club over the last 9 years, but the player sales have also had a big impact on the heavy profits. In the 5 years up to 2019, Tottenham made £172 million in profit from player sales. However, following the 2019-20 exits of Kieran Trippier and Christian Eriksen, the biggest earning departure in the last two windows was Kyle Walker-Peters to Southampton. So money is a huge issue. This is not just for Tottenham Hotspur. This is for every single club in the world right now. You know, you can look at Real Madrid failing to sign a player last summer, the last summer window, and we're not the only club being affected by this. And again, as Sane says, Footy Insider isn't that reliable. I've said that. I'm fully aware they're not that reliable. But the reason I'm talking about this is because it does make sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. And we'll go into each and every individual player that this could be very, very shortly. But you know, I don't bring news to this channel unless, first of all, I think it's from a reliable source, or if it's something that really, really does make sense. And I read this, and the first thing I thought was, this is a massive concern for Spurs, and this is definitely something that could happen in this summer transfer window. Billy Hotspur says Kane to Man City is a done deal. We'll always be a selling club, sadly. This is something that has been discussed. Was it Fabrizio Romano? There was some reliable enough source that said Manchester City were preparing a bid to sign Harry Kane this summer, but I'd be very surprised if that does come to fruition. It's going to take a lot of money to draw Harry Kane away from Spurs, especially if it's to another Premier League club. You know, that will, the English tax, the Premier League tax, all those things will come into consideration in that one, and it will cost Man City a huge amount of money. I think it'll cost a little bit less for the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain to maybe get one of these deals done, and of course Bayern Munich as well, potentially looking at Son. But let's talk about Hugo Lloris first of all, because we did speak about him on the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast last night with the Irish Hotspur and Luke from Rivalry Aside TV, and it wouldn't surprise anyone, I don't think, at this stage, if Hugo Lloris did go on to join PSG this summer. He wants to, you know, he wouldn't surprise me if he did want to go back to, you know, the best team in France, where of course he is from, and get back and work with Mauricio Pochettino one last time in his career. It would not surprise anybody. And Lloris's form, I think, since Pochettino took over at PSG, does perhaps suggest there may be some the title of the podcast was "Is His Mind in Paris?" and his recent form does suggest that may be the case. Now you're looking at his couple of errors against Liverpool. Didn't play too well the other night against Manchester City. Of course, the error early in the season, even with against Crystal Palace. A Hugo Lloris departure would not surprise anyone at this stage, and there are some fans who are looking at this and want it to happen because of the recent form he's shown. He's 34 years of age, so even though the goalkeepers do have a considerably longer career than outfield players, there does come a stage when he is on the decline, and he's not going to get any better from where he is. And unfortunately, Lloris may have reached that point. And as our club captain, as a man who's stuck with his club for almost a decade through some really, really poor times, really poor managers, really poor squads, it would be devastating to see him go. But we maybe are getting to the point where that could be the best thing for us. Sane says let Lloris and Areola swap deal. There's a lot of people saying that in the podcast last night. Areola, of course, currently on loan at Fulham, but is a PSG player. So that is something that could suit both sides. And if we're looking at finances and that, I don't think either of those players would command a very, very high fee with Hugo Lloris's age and coming towards the end of his contract. And Areola, a player who just seemingly isn't really in PSG's plans, of course, haven't been loaned out to Fulham this season. Wayne says Lloris and Ali potentially leaving. And we'll talk about Ali in a second, but it does make sense with that one. Martin saying City won't buy Kane with his injury record. They'll hold out and sign Haaland when his £60 million release clause can be activated. And Bradley here saying Levy won't sell Kane this summer. He's priceless to Spurs. And I personally don't think it'll be Harry Kane. I think it makes sense if it's Hugo Lloris. It also makes sense if it's Dele Alli, because we're looking at how the crazy U-turn Jose Mourinho has made and getting Ali back into the Spurs team after any potential move to PSG fell through in the January transfer window. And maybe Ali's getting back into this team to put him in the shop window, to help him, refine a bit of form, to push that price up as much as we possibly can in order to command a more significant fee in the summer transfer window if we are going to sell him. But that is still a huge concern for us, because I'm a big fan of Dele Alli. He hasn't played at his best since getting back into the team, but you do have to take into consideration the fact that he hasn't played top level football, or he hasn't played consistent football in so long. So I think it is going to take a bit of time for him to refine that form. And if it is a case of getting back in and getting him back on form again just to sell him, that won't sit well with the Spurs fan base. And even though we will gain the short-term benefit of having a good player in our squad this season, if that is purely to sell him on, that's not the mentality Spurs fans want the club to have. That's not the philosophy, the process that we want to instill at this football club. We want to bring in players who are at that top level already and reap the benefits of them, reap the rewards, and have them in our team for a consistent, long-term future. And if that is what is happening with Dele Alli, I don't think a lot of Spurs fans will accept that. And I know his form has been really poor, and if we are going to sell him, perhaps we do want to get him into the team, maybe a sub appearance here for 20 minutes, another game here for 30. But Jose Mourinho has spoken about how there is a place in that starting team for Dele Alli. He's spoken about how Tanguy Ndombele is now fit enough to play 90 minutes in a deeper lying position. So him in that double pivot with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg opens up the space further up the pitch. And it seems to be a battle between Dele Alli and Giovanni Lo Celso for that. And with Lo Celso's injury concerns and his inability to stay fit, it does seem as though Dele Alli could be the prime man to take that spot. And again, if that is just to sell him on for a higher fee in the summer transfer window to PSG or to any other team that will take him, because I'm sure there are a lot of teams who will take Dele Alli. You don't become a bad player overnight. And the numbers that he produced in that 2016-17 season, especially something like 18 goals and 12 assists in the Premier League at such a young age, that quality, that ability doesn't just disappear. Form is temporary and class is permanent. And Dele Alli, once he refines that form, once he gets consistent football again, he could become one of the best midfielders in world football. And I honestly do believe that. Looking at the raw natural ability that he has and the work that he's put into his game throughout his time at MK Dons and breaking into that Spurs team. Now, everyone is going to question his attitude, and rightly so, because his attitude hasn't been good enough in the last year or so. As soon as things started to go slightly sour under Jose Mourinho, he seemed to really give up. He hasn't been willing to adapt his game to become what Jose needs him to be in order to put him in this team. And maybe now he's been given that opportunity, and maybe now he will be willing to adapt because he sees there's a potential for a move. We know he loves Tottenham Hotspur, but we also know he wants to move away because he's not getting the chance he feels he deserves, and he's not getting the respect that he thinks his ability does warrant from Jose Mourinho. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Dele Alli move pans out. But I think this is a very interesting article to come out now, just as Dele Alli is starting to get back into the fray at Spurs. And we really have to wait and see where this one goes. Martin says, I reckon it'll be Ali and Lloris, as Spurs are looking for a named sponsor for the stadium. Your finances won't be bad enough to sell Kane. Look, £150 million loss. I really don't know. And if we're looking at, we move on to Kane and Son, they're both coming into areas of their career where all they want now is trophies. they've tried to do it the right way in terms of showing loyalty to their club and being the kind of main men in that team. But how long ago were we told that Tottenham are about to build a team around Harry Kane? We had one for a year, maybe 2 years at a push, and now we're falling back into that bracket of being a one-man team. We lost Harry Kane. We lost Harry Kane to injury for 3 games, and we looked absolutely toothless. Was it 2 shots on target against Brighton? Probably even less against Chelsea and Liverpool. Gareth Bale and Carlos Vinicius, who were fringe players this season, being the only players that showed any bit of attacking intent and attacking threat in those couple of games. We can't become a one-man team, especially if we are in these financial positions where we do need to move on a player. I welcome Lily White Lane to the stream. It's really concerning, and I can see Harry Kane moving on. Of course, I don't want it to happen, and I don't think it will happen, but the possibility is always there. It absolutely is. Like I said, he's coming to that stage of his career where he's going to want to go and win trophies, and right now I don't think he can afford to be picky in terms of waiting 2 years for Real Madrid's finances to come back, or for Bayern Munich maybe to wait till Lewandowski is a year or two older, then maybe bringing Harry Kane as a replacement. PSG could be his only option right now. And there's no doubt PSG will have that money. And even though those trophies aren't exactly the most prestigious trophies in the world in terms of the French Ligue 1, the Coupe de Ligue as well, maybe those are the only trophies he has a chance to get, and maybe have a go at that Champions League with Mauricio Pochettino as well. And if Harry Kane does leave Tottenham Hotspur, we can't sit here and say a single bad word about him. That man owes absolutely nothing to this club. He has given almost the best part of his career to this football club, and it has not been repaid to him in terms of investment in the squad around him, in terms of the youth product that this team is producing, and mainly in terms of trophies. He's won nothing. He has won absolutely nothing at Spurs. And I really do feel, and Oksane saying, why would Kane go to a Farmers League? For trophies. It's as simple as that. He can't be picky. And PSG are going to have a good go at the Champions League in the next couple of years. They were unfortunate last year when they got to the final to come up against the best Bayern Munich side, one of the best European sides we've seen in I don't know how long. And I can see him leaving Spurs in the next year or two. Again, I don't think it's likely, but the possibility is there. And Spurs fans, I do think, need to be open to that. And, if it is a case of finances being the problem and causing that to happen with this global pandemic, leading Daniel Levy to be in a situation where this club is not sustainable if there isn't a blockbuster sale, that's probably the best for the club in terms of keeping the club going. I'd rather lose Harry Kane than lose Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And that is the severity of the situation that we are in right now. Tottenham furloughed all their players less than 12 months ago, and within 2 or 3 months they've gone out and spent £70 million in the window. Finances are in a dire state now, not just for Spurs, but for every single club. Look at Liverpool losing Van Dijk and Gomez to injury, and all they could afford to do was bring in a £2 million centre-back from the Championship and loan in Ozan Kabak from the bottom of the Bundesliga. Chelsea, Leeds, maybe even Wolves are the only teams that seem to have managed to put any sort of money into their club out of this situation. But not every club is going to have the luxury of that. And Spurs are in a worse state than anybody else because they're coming into this off the back of building a £1 billion stadium. There's a lot of people saying Spurs are £1.17 billion in debt. And that's not debt that we're going to have to pay off overnight, but it's a lot of money, and it's a huge debt for this club to have in the future. And we could be in a situation where we just have to sell our players. And it's as simple as that. And I'll come back to the whole thing with Jose Mourinho, as I said in the past. If the money isn't going to be there in the summer transfer window to Jose invest in the squad, sack him. It's as simple as that. I don't want Jose to go. I do think he can be the man to bring success to this club, but he needs financial backing for that to happen. If there's no money invested in this club, and if this squad that we have right now, the core of this squad, is going to be the squad that we're going to have to bring going forward, potentially build on, Jose is the last man to be here in charge, because he's going to ruin the squad from the middle of it. Everything's going to turn sour because he needs to bring in his own players. When those players aren't there and aren't playing for him, he turns against those players. He ostracizes those players. So if the money isn't going to be there, get rid of him. And I don't want that to happen. But that is the situation that we could be in. Moving on to Heung-min Son. First of all, we've got a Cam Vlogs joining the stream. Welcome, Cam. Thanks for tuning in. A couple of good wins for Plymouth in the last couple of weeks, wasn't there? Lily White saying, if anyone should be spending this summer, it's us due to our lack of investment. Yet we find ourselves in a situation where we're in debt and a big player moving in the summer. Absolutely ridiculous. Josh saying, if Kane is leaving, who we're going to get? Josh, your guess is as good as mine. Joseph here making a good point as well, saying he's apparently told his friends and family he believes in Mourinho, and I think we will win in this and next year. And that was also coming from Football Insider. So there is, of course, that element of that. And Oscar Bell here saying, how can you believe Football Insider? I'm not believing Football Insider at all. I said this at the start of the stream. I'm not believing them. What I'm saying is it makes sense. and that's the only reason I'm talking about this, because I don't like talking about Football Insider stuff. But when an article comes out like this and it makes complete sense with what we're seeing in terms of Tottenham be 1.17 billion pounds in debt, with the financial implications that we know this global pandemic is having on every single football club, the idea of us needing to sell a player, first of all, is not something that Daniel Levy would think twice about. And second of all, is just realistic. It makes sense. This is how the club could move forward, with the stadium, of course, being built lately as well. I don't want to believe Football Insider, but it's something that I do think makes a lot of sense. Bradley saying, I don't think Ian Excel is, Joe Lewis is £115 million yacht to help the club. There's not much chance of that happening. Wayne saying £40 million, if not more, for Ali, pays for a centre-back. We should get a minimum of £10 million for Hugo. Kane and Son won't go just yet. Deadwood out for cash or player plus cash swap deals. And look, that is a good point as well. There's a lot of Deadwood at this club. We have one of the biggest squads in the Premier League in terms of players who perhaps would make it in a lower league, a lower table Premier League side. You're talking Ben Davis, Harry Winks. I'd even put Davinson Sanchez in that bracket, a few of those attacking players as well. So there is a lot of players at this club. I'd say 5, 6, maybe 7 players that we could sell for about 10, 15 million pounds, which is a lot of money. But you have to take into consideration the difficulty of selling those players. There's a reason none of those players moved on in January. First of all, other clubs struggling with finances. And second of all, the fact that the players have just shown they're not good enough. I can't imagine any Premier League team looking at Spurs play in the last couple of weeks while Sergio Reguilon has been injured and saying, looking at Ben Davis saying, oh, we should sign him. He was turned inside out by Robert Snodgrass a week and a half ago. No one's going to want to buy him. Harry Winks has good performances, but he also has embarrassing performances where he is not good enough to be in any Premier League side. And you see Spurs fans saying his level is the Championship. I don't think that's entirely true, but I do think that the way these players are performing will not attract any sort of bids for them. So there is that difficulty in moving those players on as well. But ideally, I think that is the best way Spurs could kind of generate some more money. If that means avoiding this blockbuster sale that we're talking about right now, that could of course be a much better option. Everything Football, welcome along to the stream. Lily White Lane saying we've put ourselves in a situation, and there's no doubt about it. Ever since 2019, I suppose this club has been going downhill. Wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10 years we're in the Championship. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think we'll be ending up in the Championship anytime soon. Wayne saying Levy will, however, obviously have to a loss on some, such as Sanchez. Exactly, we will make a loss on some players. We will not get £40 million back for Davinson Sanchez. If any club, and I mean any club, pays £40 million for Davinson Sanchez, they'll need to reconsider everything. He's not worth that amount of money. So there will be making those losses. And we talk a bit now about Son, Heung-min Son. Dear here saying I read that Juventus are ready to pay £90 million for Son. We spoke a bit about this in the podcast last night as well. Juventus will take Son. Bayern Munich will take Son. I'm sure PSG would be interested in taking Heung-min Son as well. Sorry, I think my stream is frozen here for a second. I'll get back. Juventus will take Son. Bayern Munich will. PSG will as well. And there's a lot of rumours about Juventus and Bayern potentially making a move for Heung-min Son in the summer. I mean, the idea of Heung-min Son going to Bayern Munich is not the most far-fetched thing. I wouldn't even say it's unlikely. Son, of course, made a name for himself in the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen. Him going to Bayern Munich makes sense. He will go there and he'll win trophies. He'll go there with a manager who knows how good Heung-min Son is, who, of course, has played against him, but has also, he knows the Bundesliga and he knows what Son has done. He knows what Son has done in the Premier League and on the European stage as well. People will take these players, these blockbuster players, and Daniel Levy, as I said, will not think twice about selling them. And maybe that's the right thing to do right now in terms of saving the club because of this debt that we are in. Martin saying would love Son over Sancho at United. I think Levy has learned in terms of not selling these big players to Premier League clubs. We're talking about Harry Kane potentially going to Manchester City. Sergio Aguero having a lot of injury struggles at the moment. He hasn't scored in the Premier League in over a year, but I really don't think we'll see Man City able to match Daniel Levy's valuation on Harry Kane if he does want him to go to Manchester City. I think any move for a Premier League club could potentially be out of the window just because Daniel Levy has learned from his mistakes in the past. Look, if you're enjoying this stream, make sure to smash that like button. It helps me out a lot and helps a lot more people see these videos. And also, if you do want more of these, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, live watch-alongs, the previews, reviews, any Spurs content you could want, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below as well and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we upload. Bradley says, until we become a winning club, our best players will always be sold at some point. And look, that's what we tried to become, bringing Jose Mourinho in. I do think the timing was unfortunate in that the finances just aren't there at the moment to support Jose Mourinho. I do firmly believe that Daniel Levy had decided, look, Jose, we'll give you all the money you need, just win us trophies. And I think if this pandemic hadn't happened, Spurs would be in a situation now where we will be winning trophies in the next couple of years. But the money just isn't there. And like I said, Jose Mourinho needs money to have any bit of success at a football club. Wayne says Son is quality and we won't want him to leave, but he could bring in money and possibly start a few clubs upping bids against each other. Look, if we could get any sort of a bidding war on Heung-min Son, I think we would raise a lot of money. Again, we don't want to see him go, but maybe it is what the club needs right now. Arvin saying if we sell Son and Kane for 200 to 250 million and build a squad, I think if we sold the two of them, I'd be hoping we get a bit more than that combined for the two of them. And maybe that is what we need. We've tried this, I won't say a one-man team thing, but we've tried having 2-3 world-class players and building a squad around that. Maybe we need just a more solid squad of numbers 1 to 11, no weaklings, no passengers, just full of players who are capable to be at this level. I'm trying to think of a player in the squad who could be that level. And it's hard because we just seem to be a load of very good players and a load of very bad players in there. But if we did have a more balanced squad, maybe that could be something that we could go to, because right now we have one of the best attacks in the league. I think when they are fit, when they are on form in terms of outscoring opposition strikers as well. But we have one of the worst defenses because they just can't stop conceding goals. So if we had more of a balance in there, perhaps we could find a system that suits every single man on the pitch. Because whatever system we play, our defense is weak and our defense is exposed and our defense is constantly exploited. So maybe we do need to build that squad and have more of a balance in there, which hopefully if something does happen in terms of one of these big players going, hopefully that will be the way that things are approached. And we don't, like when we sold Gareth Bale, who's going outside in the first 7 players we sold, that's not what we need. I think we need a project. We need a manager who won't just buy players for the sake of it, who will buy the players that he knows will work in the system that he wants to build at the club. Bradley says if we sell Son and Kane, don't think Levy will invest that money in the team. It'll be used to pay for the stadium. That is, of course, still another worry. Bobby here saying changing a manager means restarting a build. Kane won't hang around for another one, Matt. Yeah, look, Pochettino warned us about a painful rebuild, and maybe we haven't quite hit that yet. But look, only time will tell. Make sure to pop down in the comments in the live chat your opinions on all of this, what player you think this could be, and what you think this potentially means for Spurs and for the future of Jose Mourinho as well. If you have enjoyed this stream, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know you like this type of content, and it also helps me with a lot of other people seeing this video. Make sure to subscribe as well if you are new. It is completely free and will give you access to so much extra content like live watch-alongs, previews, reviews, transfer talk videos, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, and any Spurs content you could want. This could be a disappointing summer for Spurs. It could be a summer of departures rather than incomings, which we were hoping for, but only time will tell on that one. Thanks to everyone who has joined over the last 22 or so minutes. We'll be back on Thursday with a live watch along for the Wolfsburger game, and Friday for the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, reviewing the Wolfsburger game and previewing Sunday's game against West Ham United. Thanks everyone who has joined, and as always, come on you Spurs.